So what percentage of those on the DNA database have never been charged or convicted of an offence? The answer is 20%.
Thank you very much. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 with Stephen K. Amos, Kay Adams and our special guest, the singer Glenn Tilbrook. In a little while, the rest of today's headlines. First, though, what do we make of plans to allow DNA samples of entirely innocent people to be held on a database for up to 6 years? You can email your thoughts, rightstuff@5.tv is the address. It's a big change from the mess we have at present, where DNA samples can be held on a database indefinitely. But following criticism from the European Court, ministers are expected to announce today that DNA taken from the innocent can only be held on that database for up to 6 years, while samples taken from those convicted of a crime can be held for up to 12. Does that sound fair to you? DNA has proved a vital tool in solving some serious crimes. The man who killed the model Sally Ann Bowman, Mark Dixie, he was only caught because his DNA was on file after he'd been arrested for another assault, I think it was 4 years previously. Arrested but not charged. However, I do know that when the police appealed for Croydon men to come forward and give a DNA sample during their investigation, the numbers who did were very, very low, possibly due to suspicions their innocent samples would then be in the hands of the man. Now, the DNA database in England and Wales contains the profiles of close to 6 million people at present, making it the largest in the world, and yet government figures suggest that fewer than 1% of crimes, that's around 32,000 offences, are solved with its help each year. So, does 6 years sound about right for an innocent person's sample to be held on file? What about the principle of everyone being innocent until proven otherwise, Kate?
Well, you know, I think they've got to make the case for it. That's the thing. You can't just say to people, I mean, 6 years, I don't know where that's plucked from. And you can't expect people just to accept. I mean, I'm more, you know, kind of forgiving of these things than you are, I know, kind of. But I still think you've got to make the case for people. And I notice in Scotland, actually, the samples are cleared relatively quickly.
Yeah, after a conviction or a clearing.
Yeah, so clearly they take an alternative view. You know, it doesn't have to be 6 years. And I just don't think they have sufficiently explained to people why it is necessary.
You see, in Scotland it's removed altogether.
Yeah.
So is there a case at all for innocent people's DNA to be held on file?
Well, exactly, but that's for the authorities to make the case. I mean, I'm interested to
What about the public? Yeah, what do you feel? I mean, in Scotland, your sample wouldn't be held on file. In Britain, in the rest of the UK, except Northern Ireland, I think Northern Ireland's the same as Scotland. So in England and Wales, it's going to be held on file for 6 years, and that's downgrading from the system we have at present, which is indefinite.
Well, exactly. They've got to tell us why. And I mean, I know you said that it's less than 1% of crimes that are solved as a result of samples that are held. I think the interesting thing is what kind of crimes, and I think the argument they would put is that these tend to be the very serious crimes, and the one that you quoted there, Sally Bowman, was one of those. So if it was going to clear up or help clear up some of these very serious crimes involving really violent people, there's a case for it, but they're not putting their case well enough, and I think they've got a duty to do that.
OK. Glenn, you know a thing or two about DNA databases, I'm told?
I do, yes, being on it myself. Now, I have to tell you a story.
Not for crimes against music, that's for sure. No, that would be impossible.
Never that.
I was going to say,
no.
right.
Here's my story of how my DNA ended up on the database. I used to have my ex-studio was down the end of a mews, and dead-end mews, and someone had come and double parked, and so I was dropping off some gear. I couldn't get down there. This made me upset and somewhat agitated. I decided to stage what I thought was an artistic process by mounting 8 bricks on the bonnet of the car that was blocking my way perfectly in row, very carefully, not scratching the car. And as I put bricks 7 and 8 down on the car, the person and her 2 sons came around the corner and went absolutely mad, for which I was arrested and swabbed, photographed and cautioned for criminal damage. Now, there's a couple of things about that. First of all, in my view, it should be a clip around the ear and I should be told not to be so stupid and sent on my way, you know, rather than caution for criminal damage. That's one thing. The second thing is, though, being on... I resent being on the database. I resent that...
Were you convicted?
No, I was cautioned. I couldn't...
So cautioned, okay.
Yeah, I was cautioned and let off. You know, I wanted to go to court about it because the person was not truthful in their account of why they were there. However, that counted for nothing. The fact that I'm now on the database, I've got nothing to hide, but I think there should be more stringent reasons for keeping my DNA on.
Why do you resent it, Glenn? And I mean, I'm not accusing you, I'm just interested, because you say you've got nothing to hide,
yeah,
and I'm sure that's the case. Why do you resent it?
Because I think it's the mark of our society becoming more intrusive. and not letting us get on with our own lives enough, and I resent that.
I mean, not that I'm making a link at all, but in the Sally Ann Bowman case, that guy was first picked up for a very minor offence. What was it?
I can't remember. I had a funny feeling it was a sexual assault, but I can't remember.
Well, I thought it was more minor than that.
The key bit was that he was never charged.
I thought it was speeding or something.
I think I completely agree with Glenn, but because I'm also on the database.
Are you?
Oh yes.
What have you done?
Do you not remember? I've done nothing as far as I'm concerned, and I find it very offensive and very intrusive. I was driving home for a gig one day. I mentioned it to you quite a while ago, Matthew. Stopped by the police. Said, "Oh, we think we can smell alcohol in your breath. Come down to the station. Blow into this." And then just from that, they took the swab. I went, "Do you have to do all this? Can you just wait and see? Because I know I haven't been drinking." And he went, no, we can take it by force. We're allowed to do that. Oh, all right, then take it. Pictures, We did the reading, breathalyzed the machine. Nothing. Oh, great, you can go now. I went, well, can I just take all that stuff with me? He went, oh, no, we keep it on file now. What? You've got my DNA on file.
And what's your problem with that?
What's my problem with that? Because there are many miscarriages of justice. I don't know where my DNA is going to end up. I don't want to be confused with somebody else's DNA. I don't know how advanced the technology is. Fair enough, and also
even I can see the problem with that. Okay. I would very much resent that, yeah.
OK, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, out of a panel of 4 people, that 2 of them have a direct experience of this. And all I'm going to sign off with is some words from Damien Green, of course, the MP that was famously arrested after the government got very suspicious about leaks and pinned the blame on him. His DNA was taken. He fought to get it off the file because, of course, he was never charged with anything. And he says, as citizens of a free country, our personal information belongs to us, not the state. If we transgress, we lose some rights to privacy. No government has the authority to take away those rights from the innocent as well, which I think says it very nicely. And Damien Green's actually going to be appearing on this show in the next week or so. After the ads, don't forget you can email your thoughts. Rightstuff@5.tv is the address. We will keep a record of where your emails have come from and pass them on to anybody who's interested. No, of course we won't. Glenn and the rest of today's headlines follow, including the number of students still waiting for their loans and how pupils' behaviour has become a fixture on school reports. That's scary. Back in 3. First, though, what's making headlines, Glenn? What have you got for us?
The first thing I've got is in the Mirror. It's about Ben's Law, the fact that Jack Straw approved a raising yesterday for toughening penalties for people who carry knives. Now, I speak as a father of 4 boys. The oldest of whom 19 and 17, and that is, of course, it's a matter of great concern to me. I think that the whole culture of knife carrying is something that has got out of control. The only thing, the only thing I wonder is whether it will make any difference, because I don't think that people who carry knives are going to really connect to the real world, and I don't know what the answer is, except to say the culture of, like, I know we're going to talk about this new game that's come out in a while. That sort of culture can only feed aggression, and that's where we're going wrong.
See, I mean, the sentence... there's a lot of people that feel it's about time that sentences appeared to be a bit tougher.
Yes.
I'm thinking now, 25 years for knife crime, does that mean people just switch to guns if they're going to get 15 years for murder on guns?
It's a feature of young people, isn't it? They never think they're going to die. They never think they're going to get caught. They love danger. We've all been the same. I'm not demonising young people. We've all been young people. It's part of that mentality at that time in your life. And I fear, the same as you do, Glenn, that they'll look at it and think, oh, come on if you think you're hard enough.
But the knife thing has grown disproportionately over the years. I mean, when I was a teenager, you got a good kicking, maybe, but very rare instance of people being stabbed to death. And now,
I think there's lots of things in terms of social environments, these games. I think there's, multifarious reasons why we have come to this point. And to try and slap, something on the end of it and think that'll sort it out, I think is naive.
It's quite a nice contrast on the stories we had earlier in the week about people getting cautions for going around beating people up and stabbing them and God knows what else. OK, 25 years. Anything else, Glenn?